Yeah. Hey everyone, Dennis Wells with Wells Funding, and I'm here with Christopher Fontenot and Blair Mitchell with Absolute Realty Solutions, and we wanted to take a little time and just talk about real estate, talk about what's going on in the industry these days. Obviously, there's a lot of changes that have been happening in our world over the last couple of weeks, but I know Christopher and Blair are keeping things going on their end, so we just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on. So, if you guys want to talk about what is doing real estate as a real estate agent look like currently with all of the shelter-in-place orders and all of that?
So I know a lot of people are out there, business as usual and yada yada, but that's not the case. Things are definitely different, but business is still moving. So there's still sellers that are looking to unload their homes, and there's still buyers that are looking to get into new ones. We're obviously just being a little more precautious about things as far as the safety of our clients, as well as other clients too. So when I show up for a showing, I mean, I'm coming in and I have gloves on and I'm wearing the mask and, I'm making sure that my clients have that stuff as well. And I provide it to them if needed. Hand sanitizer, all that stuff. When I walk into the home, I'm going through, I'm flipping on all the lights, I'm opening all the doors, trying to limit the amount of contact that's taking place. And even before that, though, I'm really pushing we need to get you pre-approved, make sure that we're not just aimlessly wandering around, going into people's homes that we shouldn't be going into, and getting all that kind of in order, and then limiting the traffic. So if mom and dad are, buying a home, well, I'm asking them, we got to leave the 5 kids in the car, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep the spread down, obviously. So, we don't want people running around and just touching a bunch of things and stuff. And we're trying to make sure we look out for both sides of the transaction, our clients as well as the sellers. So that's definitely the big one.
Okay.
You want to add to it?
Me? I
Yep.
mean, I think you touched on quite a few good points, but I mean, it is different with only taking one client into the home. So, I mean, if the husband and the wife are buying a house together, but the wife is only the one on the loan, and there's actually properties that are saying only the pre-approved buyer can enter into the property. So it's a little bit different. I think a lot of buyers are a little bit more skeptical now. You see a lot of the first-time home buyers in the market right now. A lot of the hundreds to $150,000 homes are going like crazy, but the families are a little stagnant.
Okay. What are some good things that you feel like has come out of this that maybe I don't know if it's learning some new technologies or tighten up some systems or things that that you feel has been helpful you know from this that you might take with you as we move on to at least a new normal, if not completely normal, in the days
I,
to come.
I I think it's forced us to make changes that needed to be made, um, you know, all the time, but everybody's just too lazy to do it, or too complacent to do it. The whole thing with the pre-approval letter, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. Before this, taking people out that aren't pre-approved, maybe speaking about lending and speaking about credit scores and everything else, but trying to get in front of that client, win win their affections essentially, and keep them with me. Now it's immediately, you're not talking to a lender, I'm getting you on the phone with my people now. If they don't, I'm not taking them out. The other thing is, like you mentioned, the technology. We got something cool coming up in the next, probably in the next week. It's supposed to be delivered here Friday, and then we'll be playing around with it a little bit for some dollhouse virtual touring.
Sure.
I think that's going to be good for us now, but I think later it'll be good for us too, because it's something that we can, add into a listing package if somebody wants it.
Yeah, and then on the whole pre-approval thing and just the benefits of starting to push that more, I look at it a lot of times because I work with a lot of sellers more than I work with buyers most of the time. So I look at it a lot from the seller standpoint. And the last thing I want as a seller is to have a bunch of people coming in my home, whether this was going on or not. The last thing I want is to wake up on a Sunday morning and, have my house is listed, but there's nothing going on today. So today, I've worked all week and I'm exhausted. So maybe today I'm going to relax, play some video games, hang out with the family, play with the dogs, whatever. Then you get that notice, you have a showing at noon. So you got to hurry up and clean up the house and, take off at 11:30, come back an hour and a half, 2 hours later. You get that feedback that, gets you all excited. The buyers really like the house. They're talking about putting in an offer. A couple days goes by, no word. And you reach out and the other agent tells you, well, they really did like the house, but unfortunately they couldn't get approved. Well, you ruined my Sunday.
Right.
I had to leave my home and I'm selling my home. So I'm obviously willing to make the, I don't want to say sacrifice, but I'm willing to get out of my house and let you come in and see it and, clean it up and keep it clean and all of that stuff. But you don't want to do it just for no reason.
Right.
You do want to do it for a legitimate reason and a legitimate buyer. And so that's how I've looked at it for a long time is if I were a seller and I had people doing this to me, 10 showings and 7 of them weren't pre-approved. I mean, that's potentially 7 hours I had to leave my home for people that had no business coming in. So I'm really kind of hoping that having this whole pre-approval forced issue does continue moving forward and, kind of sticks with, I've always told my sellers anyway, if you want to require a pre-approval before showings are confirmed, I support that decision because I mean, you're leaving your home, you're letting strangers come through your home and have access to all of your personal stuff. And this is how you kind of protect yourself is by making sure that they are legitimate people and not just somebody who went to whatever.com and got John on the phone and John's like, yeah, I'll run you over there really quick. And John's never even met these people. And now you have these complete strangers walking through your home, digging through, your medicine cabinets or whatnot. So that's one thing I do hope to see. What's up?
I used to get actually quite a few times where buyers would say to you, well, I haven't done the pre-approval yet. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to buy, but I want to see homes before I get pre-approved because I don't want my credit ran. And it's another thing that I've had a couple of people that I've taken out like that and they've turned into be good buyers that purchase the property. But at the end of the day, this is eliminating that completely, I think.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm really enjoying are the virtual showing videos and stuff. And I'm really hoping more agents start doing them. I've done them for my listings. And it's a great marketing tool to help your sellers get the word out and have people, virtually see their home before they come in, which could potentially eliminate unnecessary showings. It's kind of the point right now. You walk through the home virtually and if it looks good enough at that point that you really want to schedule a showing and stuff, you're limiting the traffic and the spread at this point. But moving forward, I think that it's a great idea. I've always loved the virtual walkthroughs and whatnot. And so I really hope that that's something. I mean, I definitely think that that's something for our end that we're going to continue doing regardless, as well as the little gadget that Blair has coming soon that I'm pretty excited about as well. So because it's a digital world, and what is it, like 89-90% of people find their home online. The more information you can give them, the more they can really kind of see the home and experience it, then the more you may not get 100 showings in 2 weeks, but and then get one offer, but you may get 10 showings and then end up getting 3 offers because it was legitimate, ready to go. They already really kind of saw the home, and they're excited about it, and then boom, you go. So those are the 2 big ones, I think.
Yeah, I definitely, love the idea of utilizing technology to get closer to people. A lot of the on our end. So you get a lot of the quickens or the, you know, whatever that they're using their technology to kind of push people away. Go through our app, do this thing, do that thing. Where, I feel like that, especially, where we are now, it's really forcing us to look at ways to make sure that our technology is drawing people in. So, having the, used to be, hey, come into the office, let's sit down, let's go through all of your documents. Now it's, hey, let's do a Zoom meeting and let's go through your documents. One of the things we're starting to implement is, even if they don't credit qualify, it used to be, hey, we want to hook you up with our credit guy. We'll help you get get your credit where it needs to be. But now it's going to be, hey, let's still do a 15-minute meeting. Let me do a mortgage coach rent versus own analysis for you, so you can see the reason why we want you to get with our credit guy is because if you continue to go the way that you're going right now, in 15 years you will have bought your house for your landlord. Whereas if you make some changes here, get your credit score up, pay down some of your debt, get a little bit of cash reserves. Now, instead of paying for someone else's house in 15 years, now you've got, 250, $300,000 of equity in your asset. And it literally like a $500,000 swing over 15 years. So yeah, I think that that's great on, on the lending side as well as on the real estate side. Do you feel like that the people that are wanting to go out and look at houses now are more serious than maybe they were, a couple months ago?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had
Okay.
one yesterday that said that we're done looking at a house. We've been out 3 times. I mean, even if something else pops up, she's trying to make a decision today. They
Okay.
just they want to hurry up and get it done. And like boom, when I ask for pre-approval letters now, I'm getting text messages immediately with with the screenshot of the pre-approval letter. So yeah, people are still, they're not wasting their time with homes that maybe would fit. They're picking out, the primo ones that they like from what you
Right.
send them, and they're going to those, and then that's it. They're not taking that's one thing that's that's kind of a negative, is they're not taking the chance on that B house that may look good. And that's the unfortunate side of things when, realtor A is doing virtual tours and realtor B is not. Well, realtor B's house might not get looked at as much because people aren't viewing it the same online.
Mhm.
So as an industry standard, I think really we need to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah. I actually have had a number of agents pretty much as soon as Showing Assist announced that you can plug in your little virtual showing and stuff. I mean, I had 2, 3 messages within like an hour from agents asking if I was going to be able to do virtual showing videos and if I could provide them so that they could pass them along to their clients. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, I just read this email, but I'm loving it. I've already called my listings and told them I'm coming, and doing these videos. So if you're not doing them, I'm telling you right now, you're missing out. I've had a lot of buyers that they're asking me for them. They want the virtual video and stuff before they venture out, especially the ones coming from Illinois. I think the Illinois ones, I don't think any of them have really come across the border unless I am getting them more to work with, which is sometimes just me going and doing a video. I had one Friday, I think it was Friday, and Illinois buyer, and I went out and shot a video. And after it was all done, she was like, "I really like it. Let's schedule the time, and I really appreciate you doing that." And we scheduled it, and we went through. So
And it's really not that hard either. At the end of the day, even if you don't have the high-end camera equipment, selfie stick, cell phone works just fine. There was the news, maybe it was 2 nights ago, Channel 7. They were talking about real estate and the lending side of it and the realtor side of it. There's a company there's probably more than one, but the one that they talked to that in Chicago that isn't allowing any showings at any of their listings. It's all virtual. And the majority of the agents are just selfie sticks, walking around, looking at the thing and just talking about the different rooms. And
yeah.
you know,
No, that's the thing. I think as long as they're good, detailed, you kind of hit every corner and it flows nicely. And you do kind of talk a little bit about the home. I mean, the ones I did for my listing, obviously I used a nice camera and whatnot, but when I did for a buyer, I mean, that was just my phone and I was just walking around and, you know, shooting the video. So, but yeah.
Dennis, what do you see with the lending side of things for, I mean, I think the biggest question is like these first time home buyers that are coming into the market this year.
So what I see, right now is, I mean, there's been a lot of volatility in the market. Right now, I think we're dealing a lot with the Congress passed the CARES Act and said borrowers were allowed to put their mortgages in forbearance for 90 days or whatever. But the people that collect the payments, they still have to pay their investors whether they get that payment or not. So you have a lot of concern on the servicer side that they're going to obviously be stressed. And up until this point, the government hasn't really come back and said, well, we're going to help you with that. It would be kind of like, you someone saying, well, everybody can go to Christopher's house and get $100. And, it's not going to take super long for like everybody in Northwest
By the way,
Indiana
that's
to
not at
go to
all what
Christopher's
we're saying.
house and he's out of money, so, and that's where the servicers are. And, so that's really what has pushed the, tightened up lending standards on especially, FHA, VA loans, because, they consider those to be higher risk because generally you don't have to have as high of a credit score. You don't have to have as much money to get in. You generally don't have to have any reserves. And so, so we've seen that. And so there's a lot of people who are like, oh, we're exactly the same as we were. And, it's the same thing. It's like, no, you're not. It's a different world. What do I think? I think sooner rather than later, the Fed or the Treasury Department or both are going to get in and say, we're going to help these servicers, because all they're really doing is making the payment for the borrower until the borrower can make it. So it's not a bailout. They're not, no one's getting bonused off of this money or anything like that. It's simply, and it will all be paid back. Either, they pay it back at the end of the forbearance period, or, they sell the house and the mortgage gets paid off and it gets paid back, or they carry the loan to maturity and it gets paid back. So it's, the money's going to come back to, whoever it is, whether it's the Federal Reserve or the Treasury Department or, whoever, and that would provide stability to the market. But I do think moving forward, one of the things that, we're really going to have a conversation with, we've done this kind of before, but now we're going to take it to that next level, is telling people, one of the keys to creating wealth is having an emergency fund, paying off your debts, your consumer debts, having an emergency fund. 2 months ago, it was always a good idea to have 3 to 6 months of your expenses in the bank. Now people are seeing how great an idea that was. And so, yeah, we want people to, buy primary residential real estate, up to 3 times their income, because that's going to maximize their, growth and equity, as well as, as they pay down the mortgage, but also focusing on the fact that, you really need to have reserves, not just, for, buying a home, but for, things that life throws at you that you were not anticipating, like a virus that shuts down the entire economy for, I mean, what, we've been 3 weeks maybe on
Yeah.
this lockdown, and people are freaking out. So
Yeah, I have to say,
I was going to ask a question about this. Do you think that, so let's say you're a 3 to 6 months out buyer, do you think it's going to be more important for the credit score or the down payment? Because I know a lot of the down payment assistance programs are kind of paused right now.
So yeah, I mean, I think that and I think that this is just kind of pushed, as far as the down payment assistance. I think this is just kind of pushed push the fast forward button on something that was already going to happen.
Okay.
Because sooner or later, people are, entities are waking up saying, listen, there's multiple offers on every deal that's out there. Why are we helping people get money to buy a house when there's 5 other people that have money to buy the house. So it's kind of, looking at, an efficient allocation of resources. Um, so I think that was kind of coming anyway. But yeah, I think that for, people, looking to buy a house, I mean, right now, 640 is still a good number for FHA. Um, and realistically, depending on their income, 640 might be an okay number for like a home ready 3% down conventional too. Um, but yeah, just telling people that you do need to be cognizant of your credit score, what's going on there. Um, you know, the whole get your $1,000 emergency fund to kind of take care of like small things that happen in life, and then really start hammering on your on your debts. And yeah, one of the things that I've got on my radar is to do a just a webinar or a Facebook Live talking about the 6 steps to financial freedom. And it really does start as geeky, boring as it is having a budget that you're living by, a spending plan, and as much as you can, paying off those debts. And as they pay off debt, their credit score is going to take care of itself. But then they're also going to have, that the margin in their life that they need. They're going to have the emergency fund to take care of issues. Because I guarantee, if everybody had, even 3 months of money in the bank to take care of their bills, this would not be as big of a deal as it is right now.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the things, this has all been unpleasant and whatnot, but there's, as far as I'm concerned, I guess, there's definitely the silver lining of it has kind of forced a correction in our industry as far as,
Sure.
the whole forcing of the pre-approval thing and the limiting of the unnecessary traffic, but then also on the lending side of it. I mean, I've had, I don't know how many clients come in and, they come to me, hey, I got a pre-approval. I'm pre-approved for 250. And I'm like, that's great. What's your monthly budget like? Where are you trying to keep it? Well, I don't want to be over, $1,200 a month. Okay. You're not getting 250,
Right.
and but that's the thing is, not every lender, not every agent does stop and tell them that, yeah, you told them that you're trying to keep your payment around 1,200, but they're always going to tell you where your max number's at. And so, I always try and focus on where they want to be at monthly, because the last thing I want is to have a client call me, and I have not had this happen yet, thank God, but have someone call me a year or 2 years into it and tell me that I put them in a home that they turned out they couldn't afford, and that
Right.
they ended up losing, or that they're behind on payments, and they're stressing out because something came up, a hot water tank, or whatever the case may be. We bought our house, and I mean, I think within 6 months, we found out that a chunk of the home had no insulation in the attic at all. And so
Wow.
we had to have blown in insulation done. And about 2 weeks later, both of our hot water tanks went out at the same time. So we had to have somebody come out and, replace those. But we were okay because, we budgeted everything properly, and we always do have our reserves. And so we're not going to, when something like this happens, you know, go into a financial crisis, or lose our home or whatnot. And
Hmm.
it's because we didn't buy at the absolute end of our budget. So
Right.
um, I think the down payment assistance programs have always been nice when when the bubble originally popped, and people were kind of coming back in, and there was a little bit of a struggle. But I agree, now that you do have 5, 6, 10 offers hitting, and there are just so many buyers who have taken the steps to save up the down payment, and save up those reserves and everything. Those are the ones who I really do think are ready to buy the home, and that I don't have to worry about getting that call 6 months or a year into their new home when I call them to say, hey, it's been a year, just wanted to wish you, happy anniversary and see how things are going. And I hear on the other end, well, the dishwasher went out, and the the furnace is going out on us and we're 2 months behind. That would devastate me.
Right,
I would
right.
I would be sick to my stomach if that ever happened. So I do think that this all taking place and causing kind of things to just get shored up a little bit more and a little bit tighter. I think it's a good thing. I think it was a long time coming, and I really do hope that in a month or two, when all of this is behind us, that a lot of these trends continue. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like that in a lot of ways that it's helping us up our game. It's kind of forcing all of us to get better, and that's where looking at moving forward, very hopeful for you know for real estate and housing in general, but for the economy as well, because a lot of people, a lot of the questions that we get are, what's going to happen with housing prices if we go into a recession, all of these things. Newsflash, we're probably in a recession. We haven't gone far enough with data to prove it, but we probably are. However, comparing right now with 2008, it is just such a totally different world. This is really how, um, weird to say it this way, but how recessions are supposed to work, that you have a strong housing market that really becomes that engine to pull the economy out of a recession. And that's what I see moving forward. I'm not bearish on housing at all. I feel like that, that we're going to be strong. I mean, yeah, right now it's a little bit different because of the health concerns, but like you said, there's inconvenience, whether it could put somebody's life in jeopardy or not. There's still inconvenience if people are out there traipsing through houses without being pre-approved, without knowing what their budget is, or yeah, maybe they could get into this house if everything went perfect and nothing ever broke and they decided never to take a vacation again. But those things are just not realistic.
No, and I call that being married to your mortgage. And I mean, that's just the last thing that you want. And touching on the whole, like, uh, the pre-approval and then it being out of their budget, this is another big reason that I do strive to make sure that my clients get the pre-approval first. I had a client a few years ago, and we were looking at homes around the 350 mark. And I showed them probably about 8 or 9 homes, and then they found the home of their dreams. I mean, the wife just, her eyes lit up. This was it. By the time we were done, she was picking out what colors things were going to be, where the furniture was going, talking about how she was going to be marking the kids' height on this door, just all of this stuff. She was so excited. And then something happened where they weren't able to use their husband's income,
Mhm.
and they only could get approved for, like, I think it was like 125 or something like that. Crush them. Now every home they look at is never going to be as good as that other one,
Right,
and
right.
they hated me. And I remember when they first got like mad at me about not being able to find them a home now, I was just kind of like, well, this isn't my fault. But then I thought about it. I'm like, no, this is all your fault. You should have never they should have never walked in that home in the first place. Like, how could you do this to them?
Right, right.
And so I think about that every single time. Like, a client tells me, hey, I really want to go into this house, and don't worry, I know I can get it. And it's just like, I'm not saying that you can't. It's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if something were to happen and you couldn't, and you fell in love with that home, you would hate me and I would hate me a little bit for you. So, like, I just don't want to put myself in that position. I actually like to be liked a little bit. So,
Right.
that's my big stance on that whole thing. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of benefits to just making sure that that first step is done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, oh, and then as far as all of this goes, here's my, not prediction, but just kind of where my head's at on things. Right now, things are shut down. Things kind of suck. I get it. We're all locked up at home. I'm sharing an office with my wife. Love my wife. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, it's different. We're all adapting, and we're stuck and we're going crazy. But I think a lot of the panic is coming from just people that are. I don't want to say blowing it out of proportion, but just definitely the fear right now of this is spreading so fast. And is it because we're out shopping, or is it because people are not taking the precautions? My thing is, I think in like 2 months, I've had clients that are just like, well, we want to ride this out. In 2 months or 3 months, if this is still kind of going on, you can't continue to live like this. We can't continue
Right.
to live like this. We have to get back to some kind of a normalcy. So, I don't think waiting 2 or 3 months for things to kind of calm down is really the way to go either. And as far as the economy goes, my thing is, I think once this does subside, I know a lot of like small business owners and restaurants and stuff are really freaking out, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but um, my guess is once they start to open everything up, the last place anyone's going to want to be is inside their house, cooking dinner or sitting around the table or whatever. They're going to want to get out and shop, because they haven't been able to. Even all the ones who shop constantly on Amazon or wherever are going to want to get out of their house and just go somewhere. And it's probably not going to last forever, but I do think it'll be a nice little bump to kind of get everybody, get a little bit of help. Restaurants will probably be packed and whatnot, and it'll just kind of correct a little bit. So,
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing too with when it's all over and done with. One thing I think that people are talking about a lot now is the small business and how much this has affected the small business. Whether you are a little popcorn shop, or you got a 5-star restaurant, or you sell toys,
Right.
it's hurting everyone. So I think a lot of people are starting to really focus and recognize on that small business, and that kind of helps us because we're a small business. We're local realtors. Dennis, you're a local lender. You're not an online bank. I think more people are going to be a little bit more loyal to the personal touch you can put on things
Right.
and helping that small business when things go back to normal.
Yeah.
At least it's hopeful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's part of why we wanted to have this conversation too, is just to remind people that we are we are thinking about the future. We're making plans. Not only are we helping people right now, but we're trying to position ourselves to be a better help even moving forward as we again talk about going back to normal. I don't know how long that's going to take, but there is going to be you know somewhere between where we are now and where we were maybe in January, that things are going to be functioning a lot better than what they are now. And as that happens, every step of the way, we want to be helping folks out.
yep.
Yeah. So, well, appreciate the opportunity to bounce some things off of you all and get your perspective of the real estate world. Yeah, like I think that a lot of good things are coming out of this, and I think in the long term it's going to be even better for housing than it was before, having gone through all of these issues.
Cool.
Agreed.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, yeah.
Good chatting with you guys.
Yeah, excellent. Well, so do y'all want to give some numbers how they can reach out and connect with you all?
Yeah. So you can reach me with 219-576-2948, call or text. And my email is just my name, Christopher, with a CH, at ars.us. Also, our website, ars.us.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah, you can get a hold of me, 219-512-5316. Same thing with the email, just my first name at ars.us. So Blair at ars.us. Facebook, Instagram, email, text message. I'm always available.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time. We're excited about the future and looking forward to what the rest of 2020 has in store.
Sounds
Agreed.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.